I get asked so often, how do you find your own style? What Jillian just shared with us earlier, that is how you find your own style.
This is another underrated thing that we don't use enough in watercolor.
I gotta say, I'm getting a little choked up.
We keep wanting to stand out, but in order to stand out, you need to know yourself.
There have been aha moments in this space that make me excited for what my brush is going to do. I'm going to share a thought with you that I had no idea it was going to come to me. I literally hate painting roses. In an attempt to, I don't know, trick my brain, I have invited a dear watercolor friend here who also hates painting roses. So I'm not sure where this is going to go. So join me today because we are going to paint roses, and dang it, we're going to love it. So I'm welcoming Jillian Boone today.
Yes, I am super excited to be here. Actually, I'm grateful that you have invited me here. So thank you.
Yay. So here's what I want to do. I just want to start. I would love for you to just quickly tell us a little bit about yourself. And as you are doing so, I would also love to hear, what is it about roses that drives you nuts?
Okay. So, I have been doing watercoloring for the last 4 years. But during the 4-year period, I took a break when I had kids. And then I came back to it sometime around 2021. But I have to say that the reason why I don't like roses is because they defeated me a little, and it was a reason why I took a break. I think when I started painting, one of the flowers that YouTube often recommended was paint these easy roses. So since everyone was getting started with it and everyone was saying that that's the beginner flower, so I decided, okay, we're gonna do it. And they are not easy. They never turn out. I can never figure them out. And they are very discouraging because it's not like I'm a bad painter. I just can't paint roses. And, and deciding that I wanted to be a floral watercolor artist, it's like I can't paint roses. It makes me question myself, right? Roses is like the queen of flowers. The Valentine's Day, that's the flower that everyone goes for. Wedding invitations, people ask for you to paint roses. And, I've been commissioned work where they tell me roses are my main flower. And I'm like, okay, sorry, I might have to turn you down. So, it really got me. And I think another thing is that everyone is painting the same thing. So it just made me feel like, is there just one way of doing this?
I think that's kind of the crux of this rose debacle that I have personally found myself in, is that and I spoke about this with Emma, there is this recipe of sorts that floats around watercolor social media that is the rose, and it never sat well in my creative soul. I'm like, that is not my rose, you know what I mean? And so I think I just felt that frustration. I felt like there was something wrong with me and my skill. But what I am slowly learning, Emma taught me, is that, because I remember when I was painting with her and I did this really quick kind of flippant Christy rose, and she was like, dude, that's really cool. I love the way that looks. You know what I mean? She's like, and it looks like a rose. And I was like, in that moment, even, I was like, oh, okay. My rose is okay. You know what I mean? So anywho, today we have a couple of things in store. I personally have this rapid fire technique that I do with roses. We're gonna go through that kind of just shakes off the scaries a little bit, right? I'm not saying this technique produces the most beautiful rose. So today we're gonna start out with an exercise that I love to do that kind of shakes off the rose scaries. It does not always produce a really good looking rose, but it certainly kind of gets you in the flow. And then I'm so jazzed Jillian's going to teach me how to paint her rose. Yay! All right, here we get into the exercise. Just a little note on supplies. I've got my Academy, which you know I love. I've got the Art for Joy's Sake palette, but use what you have, use what you love. Some paper towels, some water, of course, and I'm going to be using the Creative Rebel brush. It's my number 12 round, so let's get into it. So this is fast. This is fast and furious roses. You don't want to think too much. You basically want to create, you can do any amount of time, whether it's a 5-second rose, a 12-second rose. I've done them all. So let's do like an 8-second rose, or we could call it an 8-stroke rose. And we're just going to keep doing them over and over and just fill our page. Okay. So I'm just going to get started. And I'm probably going to double load my brush, but you do you. Just load your brush with however you're normally comfortable, okay? And we're going to count it out as we do it. We're going to do 1, we're going to do 2, we're going to do 3, we're going to get water and not count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. This is what I'm talking about. It's super loose. It's super messy, but it gets your brain going. 1, 2, 3, press down really hard. 4, you can swirl around and not even lift off the page and it counts as a stroke. 5, 6, 7, 8. See, and these are looking like blobs, but already my breathing has kind of regulated. I don't feel quite as nervous. My hand feels a little bit looser. Now, normally I would not be, if I was doing this without an audience, I wouldn't be talking as much as I am right now, and I would be even more calm, right? So that is the exercise. Now I want to see what Jillian's doing. So I'm going to put the screen on her painting table. All right. And let's just keep going with this a few moments. 1, 2, 3, 4, change colors. 6, 7, 8. You'll notice yourself starting, yeah, right? You'll notice yourself starting to get a little more creative with your pressure, because when you're limited in the time you have, especially, your creativity, it kicks in. It just like is like, hello, you know, because you are limiting yourself. And so I have found this rapid rose exercise to be super incredibly creativity building, right? In my brain. It really is.
I mean, this is genius. Look at it. Painting. It looks like focus.
Yeah.
And I don't actually think
5, 6. I just did 6 strokes here, but now I'm rinsing my brush. Now, again, you wouldn't be thinking or saying this out loud, but you're going to start to develop ways to create a rose that is much more likable and not worthy of your hate as you loosen up into this process. All right. You really are. I promise you. You might even get to the point like just a big splooge spot in the middle here, and then work it out with water and some linear stuff. And look at that. It really starts to feel like you'd want it to feel. It starts to feel like a flower you can be proud of, because again, you're pushing yourself so hard to just use so little to make this happen, right? All right, Jillian, how are you feeling? I gotta know, like, is it stressing you out, or does it feel a little empowering?
It actually feels very empowering. And I mean, I'm using those same strokes that, I learned in the beginning, which is the bracket. I call them the brackets.
The brackets.
And then they kind of work out. I mean, and yeah. I'm kind of making them my own. And of course, the first flower is always ugliest. I don't know how you feel about that.
I do. Yeah, they are.
And then I see the ones that are in the middle. I really like them. And as you said, it's about filling this page with florals, but you can pick and choose the ones that you really like. And then, the next time you just do more of that, right?
Absolutely. And you're Also we're building muscle memory here. So, muscle memory for more confident strokes later on, which is a really beautiful thing. So, and then of course she can add in greens, and you just never know. This actual technique could take you to a painting that feels finished and feels more like something that you feel is a completed composition. You just don't know where it's going to take you. You just don't know. So I hope you're feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit less worried about what comes next, because really that was the goal. And at this point, friends, I would love for you to head into the comments section and give us an idea of how you're feeling. Chat about it down there. It's important for you to kind of release those feelings into words, into the community. And also what's important is for you to give this video a boop, because that's a like, by the way, because the likes on my channel really help others find this type of education that they need. So it would help me out a lot. Let's give this page full of lovely a Vanna White moment. Yes, I have just aged myself. Give me a Vanna in the comments if you even know what I'm talking about, so you can also age yourself. I'm kidding. But anyway, let's get on to Jillian's way of doing the rose. I am so ready for it. Here we go.
So I thought that we start with a little bit of context about the roses that I started with before I took a pause in my watercolor journey. So these were actually roses from 2017. And basically I used them in sketchbook, and these were all from YouTube videos, figuring out the brackets, getting into the tight details and things, and also figuring out water consistency and all that. Yeah, so these were history, and I want to show you where it's at now. So my roses have moved. I mean, at least I have created something that I can call my own, that I feel really proud of. It's something that I recognize as a rose that I can figure out, because I think one thing I really struggled with was these white spaces. I just couldn't get it. Like I couldn't understand, why is the rose white in the middle? And this is where I realized that as a beginner, we were thrown into figuring out negative painting when we haven't even figured out positive painting. And I only discovered this when I started my sketchbook work. So there was one day that I suddenly felt like I needed to conquer these roses. Wow. So I washed, and I told myself, I'm just going to use whatever color I love. Just, the whole point of it is to have fun, right? So I just used a reference book, which was actually the Flower Color Guide. But eventually I just didn't look at it. I just wanted to focus on, the bracket things that people are doing. And I realized that what was missing was the entire shape of the rose. So I would start with the entire shape. Yeah, exactly. So now I have a flower shape. And then I go in with the bracket, and it made so much more sense.
I love it.
Because now I can decide where my shadows are. Because for a long time, you see, when we do this, it's like, what is the white? Is it light? Yes. Or is it petal? And the funny thing is that, why is it light in the middle? I always felt like it should be darker in the middle of flowers. So that's why my brain just couldn't wrap around things. So even as I was doing this exercise with you, Christy, I was very mindful that the centers should be darker.
Yeah, my centers are often darker. And even like when I go back into like my style rose, I'm very early in the process going back into the damp area of the middle and dropping in dark color. And that always felt good to me. Yeah.
And then this was when I really peeled back the layers and decided to do a lot of the negative painting and, studying reference photos and figuring out how these bracket things work. And then I realized another thing is these roses are often aerial view. So you're top down.
Yes.
And, roses go in so many different directions. So we shouldn't limit ourselves, right? In that sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And let me show you a couple more roses. So these are again like the outside shape. And then I go in with the bracket. Yeah, I mean I went through this rose phase for a while just to conquer it. So this was started with one and then I practiced around it. So just like what you did, but the really detailed one.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want us to, rethink the rose and reevaluate how you see things. When I did this one, I wanted to do the bracket, but the only thing is that I made sure that my centers were dark, and then everything else was like optional. I mean, with the whites and stuff. Yeah, and the same as here as well. So if I tell myself that if I'm painting shadows and not petals, it's so much easier for me to grasp it. Yeah.
Y'all, I'm hearing this for the first time. I am hearing this for the first time. I know Jillian has a video about this. I'm actually going to link it in the description below, but I purposely didn't watch it because I really wanted to hear it like in this session for the first time. So I'm nervous though. I'm not going to lie. I'm nervous because I don't know.
All right. So let's get started. And I would be starting with the outside shape of the rose. Okay. And one of the things that I like about my roses, I like to do side-facing roses or, downward facing. So they're always facing on the side. These are also on the side. And just to draw things out a little is I feel like roses are bowl shaped.
Yes. So you're just giving us like basic shapes here, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if we know that it's a bowl, we know that the center here is going to be darker. Right? And that links to the stem.
Yep.
So here are going to be where some petals are. And then we're just going to go around and build on that.
Yep.
So that's how we're going to start. Okay, let me just get to it so that we can get our brushes warmed up. And Christy has already helped us with that. I'm going to just pick a color. I like coconut rose. I'm going to start with that bowl shape that I told you. Okay? Just starting with that circle, the oval. And I should have gotten it darker. I'm going to get it a little bit darker. And then I'm going to use my water to pull it out so I get that bowl shape. You can see that I've got this exact bowl thing. The only thing is that I printed it out. Now here's the thing. If you feel like the colors are bleeding into here and you want to have that separation, you can always dry your brush and lift.
Yes, lift. Oh, we love lifting.
And just by doing that, you create a separation between the top, which is the inside. That's going to be darker. And the outside, which the light source is hitting on. While it's still wet, I'm going to use a very thick consistency of pigment to kind of dab the center. So that's where my center is. And this is the thing. I love doing wet in wet because you get the very nice soft edges. And I'm going to use my brush and just kind of break it up. So you get the darkness on this top part and the lightness on the bottom part. And you can actually call it done if you want.
Oh.
I mean, it looks like a very abstract rose, right?
It does. It does.
And if it's so wet, you can always go in and add in just a little on the top and the base, just to give it a little bit of definition. Then I'm gonna add my stem.
Oh, you're in the stem zone already. Okay.
And where colors here are still wet? Sometimes I like to add a bit of yellow. So adding some color, a little bit of glow to it, right?
Yes.
The
glow. I like the glow.
Yeah, I mean, this is all wet and wet. So I'm waiting for it to dry. so I can add a little bit more layers. And while waiting for it to dry, let's do a front-facing one.
I'm here for it.
So front-facing one, let's choose another color. So one of the things that I like to use is the flat brush. I find that with the flat brush, you can do things like this. Let me show you some marks because we got to warm up our hand. You can use the edge of the brush where you hold it upright. And instead of brackets and curves, this is what we're used to, right?
Right.
Used to this, right?
Yes.
Let's use the edge of the brush. Do a dot in the center. And use the edge to hatch it out. Because your rose is kind of like a hatch thing, isn't it? It's a little bit more angular, I feel, than curved. But that's what I see. So let's put that on paper.
Okay.
That's why I use the flat brush. How is this? How does this feel for you?
Okay, I'm gonna like put a little spotlight on my painting table. That's what I've got. I'm okay with it. Like, I don't know. I'm eagerly awaiting more layers.
Yes, because now it looks like a blob.
Yeah, I'm trusting the process.
Yes, this is called the ugly beginning.
Okay.
We all have to get the ugly beginning to appreciate the beautiful ending.
That's right.
So, I'm gonna start with my center.
Okay.
And, it's just a round dot thing. And then, here is where I want to do brackets, like the other way. You see, we're used to doing the brackets where we're going around the center.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you that we're gonna do brackets this way. The other way instead.
Oh. What?
So if we do bracket way, this means that I'm trying to show a rose that is side facing. So let me just grab out my book to find a rose that's side facing, so it's easier for you to visualize. Okay, I found a side facing rose. Okay, so if you go to a side facing rose, you see the brackets are actually the other way.
They are. My brain just had like what?
We're doing this way, and then we're going back to join it together. That makes sense. Okay, so this is where I like to leave my two front petals, which is that beautiful V that we've created.
Yeah, I got the V.
That's my two front petals.
Okay.
And the thing about a rose that's side facing is after you do the center, you got to figure out where the base is, the fold.
Yeah.
Because once you've got that, everything goes there. So let's get a very thick consistency of pigment, because that's going to be a shadow. And we are going to go this way, the bracket this way now. And now, a brush and pull out the pigment.
There she goes.
And create those beautiful manifesting.
What? A wet brush and just dragging that out.
Yeah, exactly. And I like to leave
Oh my gosh.
empty petals. So this is like an illusion.
Which I did not. So let's just lift this because my red stains. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, I'm excited.
And then you're like, oh, what's going to happen with the top, right?
I am. That's where I'm at.
I'm going to add a small petal on the side. And we're going to use a very light value and just do a little on the top. Okay. But we leave that white because I want to showcase that front petal, which is essentially these petals.
Yes. So they're the white.
Yeah. So we just painted the shadows. And then these, we painted some of the petals. So our brain is wrapping around which petals to paint and which petals to paint.
I am intrigued and my brain is quite happy.
Yeah?
Not gonna lie. Yeah, I am.
Because it feels like it's connecting, right? A little bit.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I wish my middle were squashed a little bit. Like I want to lift some of that, but that's neither here nor there.
So I'm going to wait for it to dry. And this guy is dry.
There.
How is
There you
your
are.
top one? First one.
It's just like damp.
Damp. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's damp, we're gonna have to be careful with the amount of water you have in your brush, so you don't get blooms there.
Okay. I'll be careful.
We're going to go in with a thick consistency of paint.
Okay.
So
I'm here for
less
it.
water on your brush. I changed to a small round brush because this time I want this really nice small stroke, something like this one.
I see. Okay.
So can you see what I'm doing in this one is I'm trying to show the petal. So our layers are going to be mostly curving, which is the bracket, essentially.
Yeah.
But they are going to be underneath this round part here.
Okay. Thick paint,
So I'm going to press down.
less water, more paint.
And I just did from the edge out. Just a little bit on the top. Then I like to do a little bit on the base. But you see, what I'm doing is I'm doing that same curve where I did before. But when I do that, I'm showcasing that there's a light petal here.
Yeah.
So I actually like to layer with dry brush stroke. Let me zoom it
Yeah.
in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But I like the broken
that.
stroke.
Yes.
This is another underrated thing that we don't use enough in watercolor. Dry stroke.
I agree. I talk about letting your color run out all the time and like letting that reveal itself on the page. It's just delightful.
It is. So do some of those dry brush strokes. And I'm just going circular around that bowl.
Oh, I
But you
I
don't have
adore
to go
this.
around and around it.
Right.
Because we gotta let the viewer fill in some gap, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Magic of loose painting. So now in the center, right, I'm going to just that darker.
Oh yeah. I was waiting for that.
I am making it V shape.
A V
Can
shape.
you see?
Got it.
And just to make the top petals have a little details, you can add a little bit of those dry strokes just around
Yep.
and around the edges of the bowl. There you have it. Rose.
Okay, I'm gonna flash mine. Here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm feeling it though. I am feeling it. I'm raising my desk up too because I don't look at that one yet. But I'm feeling it. I love this.
With a bowl, right?
Yep. There's my bowl.
And if you want to define the bowl more, then I encourage you to just do the bowl then. As in, define it more. Just on the edge. And this is essentially bracket. So what we're doing here, we're creating these brackets that are curved and are going around here.
Yep.
Then we've got this L shape here. And then we're going the other way here. So our brackets are just going down a funnel if you think about it.
Yes, going down the funnel. The rose funnel. I love it.
Let's look at the second one.
Okay, I'm excited because I'm feeling very much like I need the next layer to be convinced of myself.
Again, with a very thick consistency of paint. we're gonna define that center, and I'm gonna have it very close to where I had before. I'm basically gonna do like almost like a diamond triangle shape.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And now we're going to do the bracket again. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I like that.
It's so much more different now, the center.
Yeah, just boom.
And then we're going to define the edges here.
Yes, you are. There she goes. And they're these are the opposite brackets again, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And just to define some of the petals, I don't know, do an edge. And then we do our edge here.
That's gonna have to be a little blossom something, because I just dropped paint right on things. That's okay, because that's just how I roll. Friends, by the way, I am using a cat's tongue and I'm enjoying it. It's fun as well. But I did use the flat before as well.
So I just do some on the edges and some on the top.
I got a little more crazy with my top one, but it's okay.
Yeah, have fun with it. I mean, add a yellow. Maybe add yellow here. This petal now. You're almost like coloring in those parts.
Yes. I need to sit with this process. My brain needs to sit with it, but I am so empowered by this.
Yeah.
And because this has, remember I said earlier, like, I'm hoping that this kind of like flips our brains a little bit on like the traditional way to paint roses. And it really has. Like, okay, for a minute here, I'm gonna go Christy on this. Okay.
Yes, go.
Because I'm just feeling like I'm ready for it. You know what that probably means. I got the liner brush out, y'all. I got the liner brush out, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, and with those curves, right? It shows so much more movement in your petal.
Yes. Anywho, just a little bit. I'm not trying to but look at that. Look.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I was feeling confident enough to go Christify this a little bit. And I'm just so excited while it's imperfect. And my brain is so happy. My brain is so happy to have another way. Yes. So what do you do about leaves?
Ooh, leaves.
Yeah, what's your thing? Because right now my stem is very awkwardly placed, and I feel the urge to fix this situation with leaves. So I'm just curious.
Okay, so here's what I would do with leaves. I like to, I use my flat brush again.
A flat one, okay.
Pull it out, dry brush out, and I did it.
Yeah.
And this here too.
I love
the paper show.
Oh, I went too dry. Okay. But there's some interesting things happening there.
Yeah. And mix it with a bit of different types of greens.
Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah. And you can go back the same one to add back in there with the dry stroke. Sometimes I like to add leaves just underneath the flower. So that's a little thing. So you're painting around it.
Yeah.
Feel like that changed the game for me.
I really kind of got wild with my color choices here, but I just again I'm feeling quite comfortable with this new information in my creative brain. I'm very happy with it. Wow. See, this speaks to my soul because I am a lover of using thicker applications of watercolor paint. And this is it's so funny to me. Like, I knew we were like kindred spirits because I have such an affinity for, you know, a juxtaposition of the sheer and the opaque, and that's really at play here as well. Would you agree? Like,
Yeah.
a contrast of finish.
Painting is more about creating contrast between darks and light, texture. It doesn't just have to be bland and bleak.
Right.
People focus on the water only.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, speaking of water only, I started with a dark center, and then I pulled out the same pulling method over here, but from the center out.
Okay.
And while it's still wet, I can play with adding brackets where some of it touches the water and some of it doesn't.
Okay. I see.
With edges, like it is going to be soft because it's in water. And then here it's going to be defined because it's not. So then now I tell myself I'm painting the shadows. So I know that they're going to be dark and they're going to be heavily pigmented. And if I tell myself I'm painting the petals, I lighten my amount of water on the brush and I pull it out. And I'm like, okay, these are lighter.
Yes. Okay, I'm just going to show you mine really quick. I did a quick additional one up here. I playing with those edges. Ah, ha, ha, ha. I'm so excited. Yay.
Yes. You got me wanting to put my neon. Neon.
Yes. Friends, how are we feeling? If you're having a good time here, please go ahead and give this video a boop. If you're feeling like you've had as excited of a aha moment or moments as I have, also go ahead and give a boop. And while we're at it, head into comments and be like, heck yeah, if you are painting along or you plan to, or you are just heck yeah, because Jillian is just that awesome. So do it.
Do it. Yeah. And you know, I added in some blues in the middle. It's like dark.
Oh my gosh. That is so
fun.
That is so fantastic. I do that. I bring in, like, when I've already got a really, really dark area down and it's dried a bit, I will do, like, I will slap on a really, like, syrupy consistency, dark indigo sometimes, and it is so satisfying. It's scary a little bit, but it is satisfying.
And I think the key component is like, with the paint and water ratio, right?
Yeah.
We need to play around with how much paint we have in our brush and stuff like that.
Honestly, yes. I was just, I went live today at the time of this recording, and I was talking about how watercolor is so much about, of course, like, it does its own thing on the page. Like, once it touches the page, you do have to be willing to kind of let it take some of the control back from you, right? But then it also, watercolor isn't just about, okay, water on the brush, into the palette, onto the mixing tray, mix, perfect, beautiful, then get it on the paper. I want to push my brush and what's left in it to its edge. That's dry brush. I want to sometimes overload my brush and have it be sopping wet to the point that I might drop a little unexpected color on the page, because goodness knows what other magic might happen in that moment. And I think that's what you're saying. That's what I'm feeling from you. That's what I'm seeing from you, Jillian, is that we need to be able to take some of those risks, right?
Exactly. And I think it's also about building that relationship with watercolor. I think many of us just dive in asking watercolor, will you marry me? Here's a rose. We haven't really gotten to know it, how to hold her, how to play with her.
Yes. No, I
it's
love
a
it.
romance, Ryan. You gotta take your time
is.
with it. Dance with it a little bit. Of course, you're gonna fight a bit.
You are gonna
that's
fight.
all part of the love.
Oh, I love that metaphor. I love that metaphor.
Yeah, I think I spoke about it in my channel, where people are so fixated on figuring out the right way of doing things. They forget that what's lacking isn't buying the best supplies and getting through which brush you're using. Because I think at the end of the day, your own preference, how you choose to build that relationship with it. And then you have to go from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jillian, I gotta say, I'm getting a little choked up because at the time of recording this, it's been a very emotional week for me. At the time of recording this, I have been doing less painting and more like fixing things in my existence. And this has made me think a thought that I am going to share with you. This is not part of the script, friends. I'm going to share a thought with you that I had no idea it was going to come to me. Like, this session has, for the first time in probably 5 years, made me think that my artwork is about to evolve in ways that I hadn't dreamed. Not that I'm gonna like bust out and just like copy Jillian's style, but there have been aha moments in this space in the last half hour that make me excited for what my brush is going to do tomorrow. And I have not quite felt that excitement in a very long time. Let me go a little further in saying that what Jillian has done by, getting frustrated. This is where we started. We were frustrated with classic roses and them not feeling like us. What she did by going to the sketchbook, going to that process of just working through the ugly and figuring out and examining, inspiration images and having that, putting that time in to be like, this is how I see it. Trusting that confident thought and then acting on it. And that's what so much of us need to do. I get asked so often, how do you find your own style? That, what I just explained, what Jillian just shared with us earlier, that is how you find your own style. You realize that something doesn't feel right in your soul, you figure out why. Yeah. I feel really impassioned right now.
I know. I mean, speaking of this, there is so much hurry to find our style. We keep wanting to stand out. But in order to stand out, you need to know yourself. You need to know who you are, what you like, how you hold things, what what kind of texture you like in your paintings. So it's a bit like what kind of clothes you wear, right? You need to know your body type as well, right? And fit the clothes that fits you. It's the same with what we eat and all of that. I think it's ever evolving. We all start off somewhere, which is, often we would try and replicate and copy what we see, and that's a starting place. But I think where people get stuck, which is where I got stuck, was this doing what other people were doing and not realizing what I wanted from my art.
I always felt like, and this is no shade to that traditional rose, that recipe rose that floated around for a decade. No shade to it. But it didn't have me in it. I remember the first thing I would describe to people early on, I'd be like, it's the sweet rose. It's the sweet rose. And I'm like, nobody's going to call me sweet. the sweet is not a word that would be descriptive of my artwork to this stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had to find my sassy rose. You know what I mean?
Right. I 100% with you. The more I did those roses,
Yes.
the more I just felt like they're so dead. At least to me, you know.
Yeah. Right. And it's no
I
shade.
couldn't find my life on it. I mean, I encourage people to just play, I think. Play with what you have, play with color, play with shapes, play with the bracket, lines. I mean, everything is really made up of lines and shapes just connected together.
Yes. I'm telling you, the bracket direction was a massive aha moment for me. Anybody else watching right now, if the idea of the brackets going the other way blew your mind, comment bracket right now.
Yeah. Brackets.
That blew my ever-loving mind. So how could I get any more excited? How could I get you any more excited? Well, trust me, it's coming. But I just want to say this. If you want to find out more about Jillian, I've got all of her information in the description below. I want to make sure that you connect with Jillian. Make sure you subscribe. All the things, and it's going to be all down there for you. Let's keep going.
Okay, let's spice things up even more. I think another thing that really made me excited about roses was the mixed media.
Oh, you had me at Mixed Media. What you got there?
Yeah. So I've got these Caran d'Ache wax pastels.
Okay, I just had to, because when she said Mixed Media, and then I saw the red tin she was pulling out, I was like, oh, hold on, because I'm right there with you.
Let's inject in a little bit more life. I mean, it's already very lively, but
It
you
is.
know, we can say a bit more. Always.
Yeah.
More is more.
More is more. More is indeed more.
It is. So we have been painting petals and shadows. This is where I like to use like mixed media. Like this is a wax pastel from Caran d'Ache.
Okay.
And you know, I've never done mixed media. And this is where when I started to get other stuff, like I got oil pastels and I got these, which by the way are inspired by Emma LeFay. I just had to say it because she was using it and I was asking her like, should I get the 48 set or the 24? And she's like, the 72. More is more, guys.
I loved when she was digging into those. I thought it was fantastic. Friends, just a caveat here, I am using the water-soluble kind of version of these, but
Yeah, it's the same as me. So I'm using the water-soluble one.
Oh, you are? Okay, great.
And-
Cool.
Yeah. So now what I'm going to do, we've painted shadows, we've painted the petals. Now we're going to use these for light.
Okay.
So like the gaps over here, I often like to just add in a couple of edges.
Yeah.
You know, add in a little of like stuff here. Just to
Yes.
like finish it off, right? You can color parts of the petals. Look at that.
Get it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Get it messy. Speaking of messy, I think of sloppy. Friends, I recently did a video about starting your process, starting your journey sloppy. I'm going to link that one below because it just seems like the perfect moment for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super excited.
Yes, look at that.
I love
fun,
how
isn't
this.
it?
Yes, I love how this looks against the really opaque areas.
Yeah.
I love the idea of even just sketching with them a little bit.
And you know, for me, I like these without wetting them. I mean, wetting them is just an option.
Yeah,
You can definitely wet them, but I like the
yeah, I
dry
like it.
texture.
I like the dry.
So that's me. So this is you figuring out what you like in your painting.
I like this.
Yes. And then I'm just gonna experiment. I'm like, okay, there's a dark one here. Let's pull it out and see how it feels.
Ooh.
Eat into the pink a little.
Yep.
Just explore.
You got something here. You got something.
I'm good now. Before we overwork it.
I gotta be honest.
The leaf that you did. Oh, I love it. I'm gonna add the leaves too.
The one thing I will say, friends, trust this process. I was so nervous during the first layers. I was like, oh my gosh, that my paint is drying and things look really strange and I'm not going to be at what, like, just trust the process. All right.
Yeah.
Just trust me. Trust the process. Trust Jillian. Trust it all.
Yeah.
I don't have the words that I need to express how grateful I am for you being with us today, Jillian. I believe that you have created like a little like milestone in a lot of people's painting journey today. You definitely have in mind.
So happy, happy.
Yay!
Yeah, so just so you know, my painting journey at some point had you in my YouTube tutorial land. So for me to be here and to contribute and share with you what I've learned, for me, that's like...
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I just was like, full circle moment here.
I know.
So we were recently talking a lot about trusting the process, trusting this, trusting these ugly moments. I'm just going to say it. There are going to be ugly moments, right? So I trust, friends, that you are 100% ready to take on my Roses playlist. So get into it and go find yourself so much more happy painting.